Good morning, bonjour, bonjour à tous. Et tout d'abord, remercier les comités de région de m'inviter. C'est un peu revenir à un lieu où j'ai encore été actif dans certaines responsabilités vers l'année 2005-2006. Je voudrais aussi dire que je crois que c'est une excellente idée, et ce serait une excellente idée, monsieur le commissaire, d'associer pleinement les régions, les communautés locales à l'élaboration des politiques en matière d'emploi, en matière de promotion de l'emploi des jeunes. Nous croyons à l'OCDE que, sur base des travaux de par le monde, que un des éléments clés d'une politique efficace en matière de création d'emplois et d'accompagnement de chômeurs vers l'emploi, c'est justement d'avoir une politique adaptée à la réalité sur le terrain. Il faut naturellement une politique générale, et je crois que ce que vous avez esquissé dans votre allocution est vraiment la bonne voie à suivre pour l'Europe en général. Mais de l'autre côté, il faut aussi une adaptation de ces mesures générales à la situation sur le terrain. J'y viendrai. Nous croyons en effet que le principe de subsidiarité est essentiel pour avoir une politique efficace. Deux mots d'explication avant d'aborder le sujet sur l'OCDE, l'Organisation de la coopération et développement économique, 51 ans environ en âge. Moi, j'en ai 52, mais j'y suis pour rien. C'est une organisation qui regroupe 34 pays. Il y a 8 à 10 Et en fait, on regroupe les pays développés au niveau industriel et économique. Je crois qu'il y a environ 20 pays de l'Union européenne qui font partie aussi de l'OCDE, mais disons que l'Europe compte environ pour un tiers de notre constituency, du nombre d'habitants et du poids économique qui est pour le reste livré par les États-Unis, le Mexique, le Japon, la Corée, Chili, etc., l'Australie. Donc c'est une organisation mondiale. So, to the subject then. Of course, giving youth a good future and a better start in the world of work is more than ever on the top of the political agenda in the whole of the world, and not only in Europe. We think that countries, and of course also the European Union, that they should concentrate on two different parts of the problem. First of all, there is the job creation as such. Many countries today are facing really unacceptably high levels of youth unemployment. The Commissioner has referred to the figures. In OECD countries as a whole, on average, we have 16% unemployment rate, youth unemployment rate. In the European Union, 24%, so this is unacceptable, and there has to be a policy, a more active policy to create more jobs, especially jobs for young people. The second part is also addressed in the proposals. Is of course the problem of the so-called needs, the people that are not in employment or in education. This group is, there it's the opposite. The average in the OECD countries is higher, it's 16%. In the European Union, happily, it's it's only 14%. But these are really two different parts of the job. Member states, countries, regions, and also regional authorities like the European Union have to, I mean regional from a global point of view, have to address. In fact, the very wide variation of figures in terms of labor market outcomes, the variation in these figures shows that high rates of youth joblessness are not inevitable. And so that besides typical circumstances for regional economies, also policies really can make the difference. The difference in unemployment rates, in youth unemployment rates, proves that there is room for making a difference starting from labor market policies. And therefore the Youth on the Move within the Europe 2020 strategy is really crucial. To talk a little bit about the causes we see from the OECD side, of course, there is the drop out of school before completing high school and the lack of the skills needed for a smooth transition to work and for participation in lifelong learning and career progression, which is really one of the most important causes of structural and long-term unemployment. And so consistent with the prominence given by the Youth on the Move to reducing early school leaving, we see that lots of countries, and it's a good evolution, good development, have introduced initiatives to encourage more young people to stay in education until they really complete a high school. Some countries like the Netherlands, the UK, Portugal have recently raised the age of compulsory participation in learning. But of course, just staying in education is not enough. Young people need a high quality and relevant education from highly committed school systems. And we are looking forward now at OECD to the outcomes of the so-called PISA 2012 study. And we are confident that they will give countries clear evidence on which to base analysis and, more important, policy. Since its inception in 2000, PISA has, we think, really transformed our understanding of what 15-year-old students have learned and can do, and how that relates to the way in which education is managed and delivered. And it's very important. 15 years old is, let's say, the last chance you have to correct, to adapt what people have learned, what they can do in order to deliver them, quote-unquote, to the labor market at 18 years old. High-quality vocational education pathways in upper secondary education, we think, can help engage youth who have become disaffected with academic education, improve graduation rates, and ensure smooth transitions from school to work. We've recently reviewed vocational education and training practices across our member states in the Learning for Job series. Vocational education and training has been, we think, undervalued in many countries, and it is encouraging now to see that policymakers as well as students and their families are beginning to take it more seriously. That they should continue to do so will depend to a great extent on how effective, of course, it proves to be in terms of getting a good job, getting an employment. Our OECD skills strategy aims to foster a cross-government, peer learning approach towards improving the supply of, anticipating demand for, and optimizing the use of skills in the workforce to promote economic growth and social inclusion. In addition, we've recently produced a paper on quality apprenticeships for the G20 task force on youth unemployment and youth employment, providing insights on key features of successful apprenticeship systems and providing examples of best practice across countries. Footnote, I think it's a real, very important added value of the Committee of Regions, Mr. President, that this Committee of Regions is also a place where people exchange best practices. Furthermore, in the field of youth unemployment, equipping young people with real adapted entrepreneurial skills can, of course, also help them to enter and stay active on the labor market. Entrepreneurship skills such as risk assessment and strategic thinking help youth recognize opportunities and successfully pursue them through business creation. However, youth are often not provided these skills by the school systems, and they have not yet had the opportunity to acquire them through experience. And therefore, policy has a role to play in supporting youth's acquisition of these skills. A good example of such a program is, we think, Défi Jeunes in France, which provides training, counseling and microfinance to young people through a business plan competition. The program is delivered regionally to tailor support to local needs. But so to equip young people with also entrepreneurial skills is sometimes a part of the job that member states have to do, which is underestimated. In supporting youth entrepreneurship, it is important to provide integrated packages rather than relying on a single instrument. For example, entrepreneurship teaching may create entrepreneurial intentions, and startup support, to follow up, can turn these intentions into actual business ventures. These features need to be embedded in programs offered by higher education and vocational training institutions. Universities in particular provide unique learning environments for young entrepreneurs because of their multidisciplinary knowledge generation and application activities. But as already was said, many young people, many youth, including tertiary graduates, leave the education system unprepared for the labor market. And in this regard, the Youth on the Move target of 40% of youth in tertiary education by the end of the decade is certainly justified by the ever-increasing needs of the knowledge economy. However, it is essential that youth are given quality career guidance to make informed choices based on national but also local labor market and regional labor market needs. So-called career ladders and career clusters offer a useful way of bringing together employment agencies, careers advisors, education and training bodies and industrial consortia to construct so-called roadmaps for training and employment policy. The United States Department of Education, for instance, has created so-called career clusters initiative, which has been adopted by lots of states in the United States and is already customized to their local labor market needs. We think that this initiative could give maybe a source of inspiration to also the European authorities. Last but not least, bringing universities closer to the world of work is also important. Since 2005, we have reviewed higher education, the OECD, and its labor market links in over 30 cities and regions. These reviews have shown us how universities can align their study programs with real local and regional needs, improve industry collaboration, and widen access to skills that improve flexibility of the workforce to face the changes in the labor market. On the side of employment, labor market policies and institutions can of course play a crucial key major role in supporting youth in their job search and in promoting jobs for youth. In the context of the severe economic crisis we are going through, the social safety nets, for instance unemployment and social assistance, need to be designed more in a way to ensure coverage to those most affected by job losses, including many young people, as well as adapt the financial support over the business cycle so that it increases during downturns and runs down quickly once hiring picks up. And in Europe we have some countries that lack these kind of flexibilities. Active labor market programs should also be, to the extent possible, scalable so that they can involve more participants when unemployment rises. Sharing of good cost-effective practice in this area is crucial, particularly in times of tight budgets. In particular, the effectiveness of training programs, which are often very costly, can be enhanced by linking the programs to local labor market needs. Of course, these kinds of concerns is more, let's say, the back office side of the problem. Labor costs may, of course, also be too high and could dampen labor demand, particularly for the low-skilled youth. That's why we advocate lower social security contribution rates or explicit wage subsidies for the hiring of low-skilled or other disadvantaged youth, which could also help to overcome employers' reluctance to hire youth in these groups. Temporary contract may also represent a stepping stone into the labor market, opening the door to more stable employment later on. But of course there is a real risk that they may become traps, especially when permanent contracts are more costly for employers and more rigidly regulated. In this context, balanced employment protection for permanent and temporary workers, as well as reasonably long trial periods, can encourage employers to give youth without work experience a chance to prove their skills and transition to regular employment. So, ladies and gentlemen, all of these actions on both the side of education and vocational training and on the other hand, on the employment side, need to be coordinated at all levels, at European level, at the national level, at the regional and at local level, if they are to be effective, what is the purpose, of course. And all players need to have the power to influence policy in fields as diverse as education and training, employment, economic development, social development and entrepreneurship. Therefore, some flexibility will need to be granted by central government to their local level branches for holistic employment and skill strategies to be implemented successfully. So, Mr. President, let me conclude by saying that it is our conviction that through the appropriate mix of education and employment policies, we really can substantially, in the coming years, improve the labor market prospects of youth and maximize the tremendous potential that youth can and do make to the prosperity and the well-being of our societies. But for these policies to be successful, it is clear that much more attention has to be paid to tailor-made solutions, and of course there you, the regional and local players, are of key importance. You have a very important role to play in both the formulation and implementation of policies. So therefore we look forward very much to the policy lessons and examples of good practice that will emerge from today's discussion, and from the OECD side we are at your disposal to discuss this, to debate this, and to advise if any advice is needed and useful. Thank you very much.